Today, South Korea is everywhere. K-pop fills stadiums. Korean dramas dominate Netflix. Samsung phones are in our pockets. Hyundai cars are on roads around the world. But here's the crazy part. Just about 70 years ago, South Korea was one of the poorest countries on earth. Cities were destroyed by war. People were starving, and the country's future looked hopeless. So how did South Korea rise from ruins and poverty to one of the most powerful cultural and economic players in the world? Let's find out. Korea's story goes back thousands of years. People often call it the land of the morning calm. For over 5,000 years, Korea built kingdoms, fought invaders, and created a strong culture of its own. One of the most famous periods was the Joseon dynasty, which lasted for more than 500 years. During this time, Korea developed its traditions, art, and science. And here's something really cool. In the 1400s, King Sejong created Hangul, the Korean alphabet. It was simple, smart, and designed so even ordinary people could learn to read and write. That gave Korea a strong cultural identity that still exists today. But came a very dark chapter. In 1910, Japan took control of Korea. For 35 years, Koreans lived under harsh colonial rule. The Japanese tried to erase Korean culture, ban the Korean language in schools, and forced many people to work in tough conditions. This period left deep scars, but it also built a sense of resilience and pride that Koreans never forgot who they were. After World War II, Japan lost and Korea was finally free. But that freedom didn't last long. In 1945, Korea was split into two. The North backed by the Soviet Union and the South supported by the United States. Then came the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. It was brutal. Millions of lives were lost, entire cities destroyed, and families divided. By the end of the war, South Korea was one of the poorest countries in the world. Most people thought it had no chance of recovery. But here's where the miracle begins. In the 1960s, South Korea started rebuilding under strong and sometimes harsh leadership. The government pushed an export economy. That means don't just produce for yourself, produce for the world. This gave birth to huge family-run companies called chaebols. Samsung, which started as a small trading company in 1938, grew into an electronics empire. Today, Samsung alone makes up about 20% of South Korea's GDP, with revenues over $200 billion a year. Hyundai, which began as a construction company in 1947, expanded into shipbuilding, steel, and cars. Today, Hyundai is the third largest car maker in the world, selling more than 7 million cars a year. At the same time, Koreans put a huge focus on education. They became obsessed with learning. Parents sacrificed everything to send their kids to school. Now, over 70% of young people go to college, one of the highest rates in the world. That's why South Korea's universities like Seoul National University, KAIST, and Yonsei University are now ranked among the top global universities. They also produce the engineers, scientists, and innovators that fuels Korea's industries. They build one of the most skilled workforces in the world. Within just a few decades, South Korea went from poverty to building highways, factories, and skyscrapers. People call this the miracle on the Han River, and it was really a miracle. But not everything was perfect. South Korea was growing fast, but under strict military governments. In the 1980s, students and citizens rose up demanding freedom. The struggle was tough and sometimes violent, like the Gwangju Uprising in 1980. But by 1987, South Korea finally became a democracy. And soon after, in 1988, it hosted the Seoul Olympics, showing the world a new, confident South Korea. Now comes the fun part, culture. In the 1990s, South Korea started promoting its music, dramas, and films abroad. At first, they were just popular in Asia, but then came the big boom, the Korean wave or Hallyu. K-dramas like Winter Sonata and Descendants of the Sun became global hits. In fact, Descendants of the Sun alone generated around 1 trillion Korean won, that's about 880 million US dollar from ads, tourism, and product placements. K-pop idols started filling stadiums worldwide. In 2024, K-pop generated around 1.85 billion US dollars, with BTS and Blackpink leading the charge. BTS alone once added nearly 4.6 billion US dollar a year to South Korea's economy, or about 0.3% of the nation's GDP. Films like Parasite won Oscars, and shows like Squid Game smashed Netflix records. All together, South Korea's cultural exports in 2024 were worth about 13.6 billion US dollar. That's music, dramas, films, games, and more. This cultural wave gave South Korea incredible soft power to influence not through weapons but through culture. While the world was dancing to K-pop, South Korea was also becoming a tech giant. Semiconductors are the country's biggest export. In 2022, they brought in about 129 billion US dollar, nearly 1/5 of all exports. South Korea makes about 73% of the world's DRAM memory chips and over 50% of NAND flash chips. Without this, your smartphone, laptop, or gaming console would not work. Samsung dominates smartphones, TVs, and chips. Hyundai and Kia are now leaders in electric cars. In the US alone, they sold nearly 1.5 million vehicles in 2023. The mix of technology and culture made the country stand out in a unique way. But South Korea also faces challenges. Its birth rate is the lowest in the world, with recent estimates placing its total fertility rate below 1.0 births per woman and continuing to decline. This is due to several factors, including high living cost, job insecurity, and an oversaturated job market, making it difficult for young people to afford to start families. Another challenge is the work culture is intense with high stress levels. And then growth is slowing. In 2024, GDP grew just 2%, but exports were strong, up to nearly 7%, backed up by the semiconductors sector. To respond these challenges, the government approved a 31.8 trillion Korean won stimulus package, about 23 billion US dollar, to boost the economy with cash support, AI investment, and help for small businesses. Tourism is also coming back. In 2024, around 16.4 million foreign visitors came to South Korea, up nearly 50% of the year before. So yes, South Korea has challenges, but they always find a way to rise. So how did South Korea become a superpower? By combining hard work, education, technology, culture, and by never giving up even in the darkest times. Today, South Korea is a 1.9 trillion US dollar economy. Samsung alone is a global tech leader. Hyundai sells millions of cars. K-pop and K-dramas bring in billions and capture hearts worldwide. South Korea may not be the biggest country, but its influence in music, tech, food, and film is everywhere. From destruction to dominance, this is one of the greatest success stories in history, and honestly, it's just like the beginning. I'm Gulo, see you in the next video. Thank you, Kamsa Hamnida.